Bethesda's in a bit of a sorry state at the moment, so Big Boss is going to tell us all about exactly how bad it is.
This video is sponsored by War Thunder.
Fucking hate that game.
The year is 2013. 2 years since Skyrim.
Oh my, is Skyrim 2011? Oh my. Skyrim is 14 years old. Skyrim is almost able to legally buy alcohol. Oh my god.
5 years since Bethesda's last Fallout, and we'd heard nothing. Fans are starved. Ravenous for anything at this point, they scramble for any scraps they could find. Voice actors' tweets, employee leaks, Bethesda staff sightings. They'd take anything. But on the 14th of November 2013, a website appears online. The Survivor2299.com.
I've never heard
On
of
it,
this.
Fallout's Vault Tech logo and a countdown to December 11th. That was just
Oh,
4
Fallout
days
4, is
after
it?
the Game Awards, where Skyrim was announced 3 years ago. Fans dig through the online directory, and its publisher? ZeniMax Media. Still, some are skeptical, but then 3 days later, ZeniMax Media actually files the trademark for Fallout 4 in Europe. They'd also said nothing about the website. If it wasn't legit, surely they'd just come out and say so. This could only mean one thing. The next Fallout was here. Bethesda hadn't abandoned us. They were finally throwing a bone to the little guy. And fan speculation goes wild.
Unironically, I thought Fallout 4 was really good. Like, now this is coming from a guy who doesn't really care much for story in games for the most part. Like, story is very much a secondary, even a tertiary thing to me. Like, if a story is good, I don't actually care about how it's shown in the game. I'll look it up afterwards, right? So, like, New Vegas, Elden Ring, most of Dark Souls, actually all of Dark Souls. What else? Iron Lung, stuff like that. I'll look it up afterwards. But I think Fallout 4 is a pretty solid, just like turn your brain off and shooty shoot, you know what I mean?
Wild.
I also really liked weapon modding. I like any game that allows you to just basically make the stupidest gun physically possible.
Then comes the
That's why I love the Tact Minecraft mod.
Morse codes. Then the Caesar shift cryptography. Then the Visioneer ciphers. Fans are sat at home in their pants for hours deciphering them. They even find a working phone number on the website, which leads to more codes. Some of these codes reference an actual radio frequency in Massachusetts, which sounds like this.
Great.
Bethesda's YouTube channel is even linked in the source code of the website. This was serious stuff. Bethesda had gone above and beyond with the viral marketing here. Every gaming outlet is talking about it, and there's even Facebook pages and YouTube channels with daily updates monitoring it. The subreddit watching the website's every move. The 6th of December 2013, almost 2 weeks of code cracking, and fatigue is beginning to set in. But it's now just 1 day before the Game Awards, and 5 days before the countdown ends. The hype is tangible. And Todd and the boys hit us with this tweet. What? It's gotta be a joke. Some sort of sick joke. But then fans boot up the website, and my god. Gone was the timer, the Vault Tech logo.
Damn it.
All that was left, a Rickroll hosted on a server somewhere in Poland.
Of course, it's fucking
A
Pope.
dark day. 3 weeks of speculation and hype,
Of all people, it's the Slavs, of course.
countless videos on YouTube, and dozens of hours of people's lives spent cracking random ciphers and lining up rivers on Google Maps. For absolutely nothing. Naturally, they're not pleased. The guy behind the website does an AMA on Reddit, and is vilified by the community instantly. We hear nothing else about Fallout for a while, and Fallout fans return to the darkness. June the 2nd, 2015, another Fallout-themed countdown timer appears.
You don't
We'd
trust
been
this one,
burned
though.
before. Turn it off. But turn
I heard actually that Bethesda doesn't want the Fallout IP anymore. Like, apparently it's... some people were saying it's a really bad IP to work with, for whatever reason, and that no one actually wants it. because developing stuff with it is a pain in the ass. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I've heard a few times over the years. Because, I mean, the last thing they released outside the TV show was 76, right? I mean, 76 is still getting patches from what I know. Let me see. I think it got an update, like, or expansion a few days ago. Or is getting one. Yeah, there's an in-game event and there's a new major update coming, which is vaguely based on the TV show, from what I understand. But it's been a while since 76 came out. You know? 76 is a good game, by the way. Now, it's actually really solid.
Turns out, this time, it's actually real. And on June the 3rd, it's nearing the end. And finally, after years
Fallout
of
3 is the only Fallout game I don't like.
Fallout 4's announcement trailer is actually upon us. June the 14th. It's E3. And Bethesda Game Studios is holding their first full press conference. Todd strolls out on stage again, confidence radiating. He's met with thunderous applause. Again, the claims are bold.
All of this just works. And again,
yeah, okay, the building was shit, I'll give you that.
Hold on. Is that the release date? That's just 5 months away. But first, look to the skies.
Why?
My God.
Oh, War
It's
Thunder.
thundering time.
Sorry. We don't look at War Thunder ads. Or ads in general, to be honest.
Now, for some quick context, a few years before Fallout 4 was even announced, Bethesda let Obsidian Entertainment, a Californian development
and they burned that fucking bridge
team with several key people from Fallout's original dev team, take the wheel, and crank out a Fallout 3 spin-off based on their original plan for Fallout 3 back in 2004. With only 18 months to get the game out the door, they got to work immediately, and in 2010, Fallout New Vegas was released. Wait, was that traits from the first games? Joinable factions? An in-depth reputation system?
I hate the air that you breathe!
And actual skill and attribute checks in dialogue and out in the world?
Man.
Okay, well, yes, you did, but realistically speaking, 99% of the time, speech and barter would just cover, like, every dialogue check. It was nice to be able to be like, oh, I'm a sneaking expert, so I can tell him about the logistics of sneaking or whatever, or how he can pull off, like, a master plan. But usually, you could just talk your way out of it with speech.
The look on his face.
Also, the writing here is actually good. The world? Pretty deeply thought out, with multiple factions at play, an interesting conflict, and actual player choice. The characters are also well written, and if you don't like someone, that's fine.
You can kill them.
Because this is always an option. Then there's almost every chain of side quests in the game affecting the main story, and the ending slideshow. There are actually hundreds of endings here. We were looking at a 3D Fallout game with actual RPG mechanics and good writing here. In fact, the game had fixed almost everything wrong with Fallout 3, and it was phenomenal. Obsidian even had to work around the crusty Gamebryo engine code.
Oh yeah, Gamebryo does not work.
For instance, if anything in the game is voiced, there has to be a character to actually voice it. This leads to characters in the game like Ron the narrator, Bill the tax collector, and Testicles the debug centurion. The ending slideshow is also an actual in-game slideshow your character's locked into looking at, with Ron the narrator.
Yeah, Ron is literally right next to.
Anyway, due to the engine, the short development time they'd been given, and the colossal 500 megabytes of RAM they'd had to work with consoles, the big plans they had for the city had to be trimmed considerably. But 18 months in, and Obsidian had made one of the best role-playing games of all time.
They have such a slam dunk, by the way, if they just fucking remaster this. I don't trust them to make a sequel to it, I'm going to be honest. If they want to, they can, but they don't have good enough writing skills in Bethesda or Obsidian anymore. So just remaster it, and everyone would be happy. you know? But no, instead they're just going to sell you a collector's edition for like $100. That's literally just the 2009 game.
However, because it's so jam-packed and was made in such a short time, it has a rough start. It's horrifically buggy and horribly optimized on release, almost unplayable in some cases. There's literally a bug where you can't enter the main strip of New Vegas without wearing the old cowboy hat. The bugs are eventually patched, but because of its release date, New Vegas receives 84 points on Metacritic. That was just 1 point short for the bonus Bethesda would have given.
Yeah, this was the biggest thing that Bethesda were like, oh yeah, we'll give you a massive bonus if you reach this score on Metacritic, and they were one off, and it was just...
As per the contract. As a result, layoffs at Obsidian, and around 20 to 30 people are banished. Nefarious theories about Bethesda begin to float. Some fans even suggest
Game was rigged from the start.
Obsidian would go on to pitch a Fallout New Vegas 2, and a similar spin-off with Elder Scrolls. A guaranteed cash cow for both parties. But this time, Bethesda says no. And that was the end of it.
In Bethesda's defense, from what I understand, Fallout New Vegas didn't actually make a lot of money from sales when it came out. Because it came out really rough, so no one really bought it. It's kind of like Coraline, the movie, in that sense, where when I think it made 125 million when it came out, but they across the States, they re-aired it. I think it was last year, and it made 75 million in the box office, which is less. But when you consider the fact that that movie is at least a decade old, like, that's crazy.
Fallout
just for
4,
a rerun.
Probably the most hyped game of 2015. It had been half a decade since we'd last heard anything at all from the franchise, so people are naturally quite excited to jump back in. And on the 10th of November 2015, the game is out the door. The reviews, amazing. 9.5 out of 10 IGN. YouTubers are even calling it near perfect.
Okay, well, that's a push.
However, when people actually get their hands on the game, they dig in. And it's neither of those things. During development, Bethesda had looked at Fallout 3's gunplay. Yeah, not really up to standards, boys. So they pulled some programmers from id, who were developing Doom at the time, to help them make actual, functional FPS combat.
To be fair, it works.
And as a result, the gameplay here,
It's
lot
better. Yeah.
The gun modification system from New Vegas is back, and it's heavily expanded. It's actually very good here, and utilises the horde of absolute shit you amass while playing the game. Also, more voice actors. So now every third NPC in the game no longer sounds the exact same.
Yeah, but also the dialogue
a few
is
other
much
elements
worse.
of Fallout 4 had clearly taken some inspiration from New Vegas. This game actually has joinable factions, and they play a big role in the resolution of the main storyline. An improvement. Companions are also a lot better than 3's. They have personalities here, and even their own quests too, like in New Vegas. They now also like or dislike certain actions you do, depending on said personality. There's now a sprint button, and that new power armor, pretty cool.
It is really
However,
cool.
That's generally where the good ends. See, after a bumpy start, Fallout fans had come to love New Vegas. One of the best RPGs of all time, some even claim. And so, as a following game in the same franchise, some people expected Fallout 4 to improve, maybe even build upon it. No. Todd Howard is, at this point...
I mean, most Fallout games don't really build on top of each other. 1 and 2 did, but from there on it's just kind of like vague mentions, because not only are they all in different states, usually they're in different time periods as well. So it's like, if I remember correctly, in 4 there's a vague mention of the stuff that happened in 3. It might be vice versa, I don't remember. But there is a vague mention of the 3rd game, but like that's it. That's usually all that happens within these games. Like, they might vaguely talk about some other game, like what happened in them, but they never really go in depth on it.
A legendary game designer, a 4 times world champion. His ideas were groundbreaking. He couldn't be caged, and his process was not changing for this game. He, and Bethesda as a whole, could do no wrong. This was going to be another smash hit regardless. Game of the Year was essentially coded in. And so again, simplification. The character system in Fallout 3, far too confusing. Special attributes, perks, and skills? Please. So they remove skills entirely, and merge them into perks and attributes. Traits are still nowhere to be found. The speech. See, half the charm of the old Fallouts are the branching effects of dialogue. The various quest lines and scraps of information.
What's his name? It's not Frank Horrigan. Oh,
You can
love this guy,
wrangle
though.
from people using only the gift of the gab.
Who is it? What? I should kick your fucking ass. Who is this?
So for Fallout 4, Emil and the rest of Bethesda's crack writing team sit down. What Fallout really needs is an emotional story, boys.
and they
Also,
did not do that.
Todd's been quite blatantly gunning for a more mainstream crowd for over a decade now, and no one in the general public can really read anymore due to brain rot. So let's kill two birds with one stone, and go for a voiced protagonist. What they didn't see coming, they couldn't possibly have predicted, was that voicing every single line of dialogue your character says in the game
Is
2
very
times
expensive.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
I am Barbie girl, I
I've
said.
lad.
is a bit expensive and quite time consuming. So Todd and the team do what they do best. Streamline.
Half-ass it.
That
Yep.
old iconic speech system? Get rid of it. That Mass Effect game is pretty good. Let's use theirs. Let's also lock the player down to 4 speech options at all times.
Really, it's 3. It's yes, no, sarcasm, but sarcasm is usually yes and like a question.
And let's not even allow them to see what those options are. Brilliant. This results in a ton of speech options being quite deceiving.
Shut up and sit down, you big bald fuck.
And because writing is hard, let's just boil every speech option down to yes, sarcastic yes, maybe yes, and no, but actually yes. 2 of the first and most popular mods to come out removes the voiceovers entirely and actually shows you what you're saying, and this problem becomes quite plain to see. Skills are gone, and as a result, skill speech checks and dialogue gone too. Special attribute speech checks too. There are charisma speech checks in the game,
I don't believe you.
but they
Well-
rarely result in anything other than
Now,
give me money.
All right. 200, 150.
The protagonist's voice lines, which caused half the issues here, make up for around 25% of the game's dialogue
Oh my
data and
It's so bad.
script.
I need to play all the Fallout games on stream. I'll do it someday.
That's about 26,000 lines. All of this time and expense on a feature which fans hate and actively makes the game significantly worse. Brilliant. At least the dialogue's well written.
If you're here to talk me into working on Liberty Prime, you can forget it.
Do I need to remind you why you made that promise in the first place?
No, that won't be necessary.
Damn.
Tell Proctor Ingram
I didn't
to
think
get
about
her
that one,
scribes
Chief.
ready.
Then there's the karma system, which they'd gotten rid of, the faction system, but instead of the varied reputations like we'd gotten in New Vegas, you're basically either with someone or against them. The skill and attribute checks they had out in the world in Fallout 3 basically nowhere to be found. They did put a couple in there though, just enough to remind us that they could have done it, but didn't. Far fewer evil character options, weapon durability's gone. The new
Weapon durability
worse layered
sucks.
armor system.
Doesn't matter what game it is, weapon durability is a fucking stupid mechanic in every game it's ever been in. All it does is disincentivizes you from using equipment you've worked for. That's it.
Boosted weapons are no longer.
That's also why almost all of them have a... Unless it's something like Rust, that I understand, like weapon durability. But like Minecraft, there's no fucking reason that tools have durability in that game. There's no reason. Flint and steel and stuff like that, I understand. Because it's supposed to be like a consumable. But they don't need durability. Your guns don't need durability. There's no point. Unless, again, it makes sense narratively. Like Stalker. Stalker, it makes sense. And as well, there's a feature in it where if your gun is shitty, it will start jamming and it will misfire more and stuff like that. In most of the time, though, it's literally just a bar that, like, it will nerf the numbers. Like, fire rate and stuff will be nerfed the lower it is, which is stupid.
visible. And the ending slideshow is not even gimped, it's just completely non-existent here. The game ends on essentially the exact same cutscene for all 4 endings.
Playing every hour on every channel.
For Fallout 4, Todd also doubled down on the procedural stuff again, and attempted to make the game infinitely replayable. And to do this, they'd cooked up the settlement system.
It's done.
A base building framework that allows you to construct your own towns across the map and establish trade routes between them. Sounds great. But again, there are issues. The entire interface for base building is from the perspective of the player, limiting and obstructing camera angles, making construction a nightmare. There's also a ton of building and trash in the way that you can't scrap and have to build around. Again, a nightmare.
There was a lot of that.
Not a fan of the system.
In their defense, so you can get rid of like 90% of it, but you should be able to get rid of 100% of it.
Unlucky. Because this mechanic is pretty much unavoidable. Elements are mandatory in the main quest, and one of the 4 factions' quest lines completely revolves around it. However, a benefit. Due to this new settlement system,
all of this just works.
Players can now build their own settlements. No need for Bethesda to even bother. As a result, the game is majorly lacking in actual towns. Morrowind had something like 21 towns. Fallout 3 had about 15 proper settlements. New Vegas around 15 too. Fallout 4, 5 years later.
I mean, technically speaking, there's what, like fucking 50 settlements in the game, but there's actually... what, 7? Diamond City, what's it, fucking Good Neighbor or whatever. And then each faction has their own base. Well, the Minutemen technically don't, but Sanctuary, realistically, or the Castle, you'll pick one or the other. And there's another one I'm forgetting.
Somewhere around 7.
Yeah.
The main city is also quite underwhelming. Less settlements equals less quests. And surprise, surprise, Fallout 4 is lacking here too. It has less than Skyrim, a game that came out 4 years earlier. Missing the towns and quests our old games had an abundance of? Well, here's a tiny hovel next to a lake for you to do up yourself. There are around 30 of these potential settlements, and Bethesda uses these to pad out the game's lack of content via more radiant quests. See, there's a man in the game called Preston Garvey, and he's about to become your worst nightmare.
I mean, yeah. To be fair, actually, I didn't think Preston was that bad, and that was just because I fucking ignored him. If I ever saw him in my general direction, I'd walk in the other way.
Prepare to hear this every time you speak to the man for the rest of the game. Naturally, the character is widely hated.
I'll mark it on your map.
But turns out, he's essential. 10,000 people download a mod solely dedicated to killing him. There's also a mod that just stops him giving out quests in an attempt to make him more tolerable. It has around 50,000 downloads. Others turn to...
there's fucking hundreds of mods that just get Preston to shut up.
Alternative ways of doing that. Settlements are also just kind of pointless.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
They have no impact on the main quest, and most of the actual settlers are just basic, randomly generated NPCs. You get money and items from establishing trade routes, but at the end of the game, you're pretty much drowning in all of that anyway. But Todd wasn't finished with the procedural stuff just yet. In New Vegas, there were a ton of unique weapons. These had unique effects and actually looked unique. In 3, most uniques had unique effects, but looked exactly the same as their default. In 4, due to the new procedural legendary weapon system, any gun can now basically have any effect, meaning no weapons here actually feel unique. The same goes for armor. When it comes
there's
down
a super
to the amount
popular
of
mod called Unique Uniques that literally just reworks every unique in the game. All a unique is in Fallout 4 is a guaranteed item with a specific legendary role.
Content in the game, disappointment here too. Cut content, par for the course for Bethesda games, but it's never been more apparent. The map is densely populated like Skyrim, with a ton of interesting locations. The issue is, they all essentially end up just being a nice little backdrop to murder people in. Oh cool, a town made out of old boat, barge and ship parts.
It's a raider
just a
den.
bunch of raiders you have to kill.
Yep.
A gladiator-style arena in the middle of downtown.
It's a raider den.
Just a bunch of raiders to kill, with no reason to ever return. Fallout 4 is barely even attempting to be an RPG anymore. It's a sandbox, base building, looter-shooter, action exploration game. In 3, Bethesda had absolutely nailed the atmosphere. It's pretty much unanimously praised. So in 4, they change it completely. The gloomy, gritty, post-apocalyptic vibes of 3 turn into bright, colourful, and hopeful in Fallout 4. The music too.
To be fair, the music side. Every game does really good music.
Also, for a AAA game in 2015, the graphics are not great. Stiff animations and pretty horrific textures across the board. The super mutants look especially bad. Compared to The Witcher 3 the same year, yeah, not great. Despite the bad graphics, the game runs terribly. Fallout 4 also features an art style change that in a lot of cases does the game no favours. Some weapons look weird, tools look
The
worse,
assault rifle
and
looks
super
especially
mutants
bad.
go from deformed, hunched over mutants to just large green men. We don't talk about the synth armor. Also, is that gun bolt on the wrong side? The writing. Again,
Yeah, a lot of gun nuts really hated the game.
Emil is back as head writer, and as a result, we're served an absolute masterclass of storytelling. We emerge from a vault, looking for an immediate family member. Again. The big silver people. They're back, and central to the storyline.
Yeah, but
Again.
that power armor's cool.
Giant Robot Man finale. Again. Wow. Also, you've just left the vault with the sole mission of finding your only child, who's just been ripped from the clutches of your lifeless spouse. Only to immediately get sidetracked by Steve down the road, who needs some help building a shed. Not too long after the game comes out, Emil does a talk where he explains his writing method. It's controversial.
Keep it simple, stupid. This is what happens at Bethesda. When you write the main story of a game, we're gonna write the great American novel. It's gonna be this thick.
Keep it simple, stupid.
And you're gonna
He...
give this book, this great American novel, to the player. And what are they gonna do with it? They're gonna rip out every page and make paper airplanes out of them. And they're never gonna see your story. They are gonna
Is he fucking retarded?
spend 30 hours making shacks. This is who we're making the game for. That's
Women.
They are gonna spend 30 hours making shacks. This is who we're
The women, they ruin everything. Most people like a deep story. There are very few people who I know that don't like deep stories. There's like, you could have a deep story without like dejecting most people. New Vegas did that. If like, you can play through the whole game really listening to anything and it still makes sense. Well, actually, I don't think a Dark Souls method would be good for a Fallout game, where basically the entire lore is in like item descriptions and kind of like figure it out yourself type stuff. But like, no one really dislikes complex stories.
making the game for. That's not the end.
Unless it's so complex that it's just stupid.
A developer, because the true mark of being a real developer is waiting for reviews to come in and then reading the reviews, of course, and hopefully, if you get lucky, ignoring the reviews.
Then there's the design of the game. Emil is head of that too. See, lead designers of a game usually have this thing called a design document.
Usually.
This is available to everyone on the team and sets out pretty much everything the game is trying to achieve, keeping everyone on the same page at all times. New people join the company midway through development, just send them the design doc, and they'll be up to speed. Design docs are usually constantly updated throughout development, so if something changes, it'll be reflected on the document. But turns out, the lead designer is not a fan.
Oh, more
Design
fireworks.
docs take a bit of time to keep up to date, and
Lovely.
it's just a bit too much effort. So for Fallout 4, he basically just scraps it, apparently resorting to a few smaller ones for specific areas of development. Now, Bethesda games are not small projects. Their studios consists of hundreds of people, collaborating across multiple countries.
We don't give two shits about how technology works, because all we care about is getting rich.
And now they're going about this
Alright.
without a cohesive, shared document.
Okay.
Doesn't sound ideal.
Not a great plan.
He receives a ton of backlash for this, and later walks it back in a tweet. And of course, the bugs are numerous.
Alright, I'm gonna be honest, I actually like the bugs in most of these games. I think the bugs make the game. But if it's actually game breaking, I understand pacing it.
And incredibly basic things are still missing. There's still no ultra-wide support or even an FOV slider, even though you can easily change it by modifying the ini file. This is on a PC in the year 2015. But of course, Bethesda knows their fan base will clean it all up for them. So
yeah,
it's all good.
Bethesda's like one of the
4
few companies where literally the fans will just do the work for them. The fans will patch out all the bugs.
First released in November 2015, Todd and the boys offered a season pass for $30, including access to all future DLC content. At the time, the scope of the DLC isn't public knowledge, but the last 2 Fallouts had a clear formula of 4 to 5 decently sized story expansions with new locations, quests, weapons, and enemies. So people expect something similar here. Bethesda had also stated that the season pass would be worth at least $40 in total. Pretty sweet deal. February 2016, and Bethesda has an announcement.
Actually, they had 5 DLCs. I mean, 3 of them should have been updates. Actually, I think... Sorry. Yeah, 3 of them should have been updates. 2 were actual DLCs, but alright.
They've expanded their original vision for 4's DLC.
Are you with me?
And the season pass price is getting bumped up to $50 in March. If you hadn't already, you better get that season pass now. They released their first expansion that same month, and it's a small quest line with a character from Fallout 3, as well as a new robot building system.
Nice
So
mod.
April 2016, and DLC 2 is released, Wasteland Workshop. This is basically just a few more things you can craft for your settlements, and some arena fighting. Okay. May 2016, and we get the first proper expansion, Far Harbor. And this is actually decent. Bethesda had clearly taken in some feedback here, because it includes actual RPG elements and is decently written. Let's just
Far Harbor's
that one
good,
quest
yeah.
there.
I actually prefer Nuka Worlds, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, Far Harbor is really good.
They then released 2 more Workshop DLCs. Exciting stuff. Then the second full expansion, Nuka World, releases in August. Again, this expansion is good. The season pass was shaping up to be a pretty good buy.
That was it.
Wait, this was the last DLC. So that was 2 actual expansions, a small quest line, and then some tiny
Some
crafting
updates.
DLC. Fans are pretty pissed.
People will buy anything. That doesn't mean...
Despite the issues, the game sells insanely well. Todd had done it again. And Fallout goes mainstream. Mass appeal. And hundreds of millions are conjured yet again. Todd gets suited and booted, and heads to the Game Awards, ready to sweep up yet again. But once he gets there, something feels different. The atmosphere. It's off. Todd has some white wine, and dips into the salmon pinwheel. It's fine. It's probably nothing. And the lights dim, and there it is. Best RPG.
The best RPG. The winner is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
What? Developer of the Year.
For Developer of the Year goes to CD Projekt Red.
What?
I'm going to be honest.
Game of the Year.
Never played it. Actually, I played a little bit of The Witcher 3. I didn't like it. Not a fan of The Witcher. I like Cyberpunk. I'll give them that though. They make good stuff.
The winner for Game of
Just
the
The
Year
Witcher isn't my thing.
2015 is The Witcher 3.
What? Outrage. Todd Howard snubbed. He leaves and gets cracking on his next game.
This fucking
This
guy.
thing was going to be a masterpiece. The consistent regression of their games, definitely noted, but Bethesda still has a generally tremendous reputation. In a market currently setting its sights exclusively on your mother's credit card.
Hello?
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 We love
Good evening,
money.
sir. I'm calling from your credit
Google
card
Crest.
component.
Oh, for
Bethesda had
fuck's
stuck
sake.
it out, remained single player, and actively avoided egregious monetization. Mostly. One of the few decent gaming companies left. But around 2016, and even this begins to change. In October, Bethesda Softworks decides to make a controversial change. See, game reviewers typically get sent out review copies a few days or even weeks before games come out.
Yeah.
This is so they have
to
enough
win them
time
over.
to actually play the game before writing an entire review on it for launch day. For longer, single-player games like the ones Bethesda Softworks publish, this is pretty important. But Bethesda now reckons, nah, let's just send review copies out one day before launch. So,
I like that idea. That's good.
everyone, including those in the media, get to experience our games at the same time. Definitely not to sweep glitches and issues with the games under the rug until everyone had already bought the game. This is obviously quite controversial, and after releasing a couple of games under this, they backpedal. Also, around the same time, a tiny indie developer is developing a small game called Pray for the Gods. ZeniMax hears about this and
Pray.
comes knocking. Nice name you got there, pal. But turns out, we already have a game with the word Pray in the title. Nothing
Pray
personal.
was good. Pray 2016 was
They're
good.
forced to change the name. A few years before that, Mojang was making a game called Scrolls. ZeniMax had come knocking then too. Same result. Also in 2016, Todd has a surprise for us. It had been 2 years since Fallout 4, and players are starting to get
Is it
hungry
76?
once
I don't
more.
remember when 76
And
came
lucky
out.
for us, Todd and the boys had something in store.
16
Another
times
edition
the
of
detail.
Skyrim. That was on top of Skyrim Legendary Edition back in 2013, Skyrim VR Edition, which would release in 2017, and Skyrim Nintendo Switch Edition shortly after that. Fans are overjoyed. That's not all. The Special Edition replaces the original Skyrim listing on Steam. It also changes the game from 32-bit to 64-bit, meaning every single mod is now automatically broken and needs updating. It's not all bad. They announce mods on consoles. They also announce paid mods for all platforms.
Creation Club!
The Creation Club.
Yeah,
It was
baby!
simple. Slide some cash over to modders to create a mod that probably already exists on the Nexus for free. Create their own currency with predatory pricing models. And then sell these mods to players through it. The first few creations are simply jaw-dropping. An $8 Chinese stealth suit, pretty much identical to the one in the base game of Fallout 3.
That's
free.
also free
And
on
also currently available on the
Nexus.
for free. And look, horse armor again.
Horsepower armor.
2018. It's rumoured that Todd is working on a massive, brand new IP. Their first in 25 years, called Starfield. So naturally, we're probably not going to hear much from him for a while. But then, on May the 29th,
Starfield was
another
the thing that
countdown
happened.
appears. This time on Bethesda's own Twitch. On it, the words, "Please stand by." My god, it's happening again.
Hey, it's happening! Everybody stay calm!
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
And then, there he is.
Have we waited long enough, guys?
Wait, what was this? It was only 3 years since the last Fallout. Could this be the massively anticipated New Vegas sequel? Perhaps Fallout 5 skipped the queue. Speculation goes wild.
Everything on this wall is connected.
Regardless, the next day,
I mean, they're
the
all owned by
countdown
the same
drizzles
company.
down to zero, and the world sees the next Fallout for the very first time. Excitement. Although people still don't really know what it is they're excited for. June 10th. It's E3. Todd charges on stage, and we get some actual details of the game.
Fallout 76 is entirely online. All new
With 16
rendering,
times
lighting,
the detail.
and landscape technology. It is 4 times the size of Fallout 4. 16 times the detail. Of course you can play this solo. You'll never even see a server when you play.
This all sounded brilliant. An online PvP base building survival game. The collector's edition
I
looks
played it month 3 of launch, and it barely worked then.
promising too.
And it also comes with a Fallout collectible that really I've always wanted, so we made them for
Oh, the
everybody
cancer
to
helmet.
buy, and here it is.
Okay, no. But we do get a helmet, a map,
That glows in the f***ing dark.
and some army figures, alongside a canvas bag. It's also the perfect time to tease Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, two games that are around 5 and 10 years out from launch respectively. But anyway, this thing's coming out on November the 14th, and that was just 5 months away. Bethesda had held a beta a couple of weeks before launch for people who'd pre-ordered the game. and things start out rough. By this point, Bethesda weren't exactly known for the structural integrity of their
Bethesda
software,
weren't known for a lot
and
of
they
things.
decided to launch the game exclusively on their brand new Bethesda launcher, made in-house by Bethesda's best. Just go to their website, download it, slurp up the 45 gigabytes of game files, and in around a week's time when the beta's unlocked, just hit play. Simple enough. And players do exactly this.
Deleted itself,
but turns
didn't
out,
it?
for some, upon pressing the play, the launcher deletes the entire game instantly. Bethesda releases an emergency statement telling players to stay calm and not to touch anything. They're working on it. And then promptly deletes the tweet. Things are off to a good start. Also, the YouTubers.
If I went to play a game when I clicked play and it fucking deleted itself, I would take that as a sign from God to just not touch it.
They're uploading videos. They're not good. They say the game is running horrifically.
I couldn't get the game to run smoothly. I had tons of FPS issues and tons of stutters.
Even on NASA tier PCs, and that bugs are everywhere. But fans disagree. The dislikes come in hard and fast. Bethesda would obviously fix everything before release. This is a beta after all.
Right.
However, this is a beta about 3 weeks out from launch. Fans close YouTube and head over to Twitch, where Rick and Morty are streaming the game.
I know I'm naked,
what?
But just come help me out. No funny business.
Everything was gonna be okay. 14th of November 2018, and the world is blessed with Fallout 76. And after downloading a day one patch bigger than the game itself, players boot up and step out
That's
into
not even uncommon anymore. That's the sad part.
What would be
An untamed and very different wasteland.
Todd had made some grand promises, and the follow-through was nothing short of incredible. Voluptuous size, and the detail simply eye-watering. However, Fallout 76's development was handed to a newer, relatively inexperienced Bethesda team in Austin, with the main Bethesda Maryland just designing and overlooking the development of the game. And turns out, this new team decided to forego bug testing entirely, and on launch, Christ.
Oh my god!
There are
Show the
frozen
gun
enemies,
scope glitch.
It's a glitch!
flying enemies, invisible enemies,
Hello?
naked enemies, upside down naked enemies, invincible players,
Shot. Or not. I could get the damage bug.
pop-ins, rendering issues,
16 times the detail.
random god rays, T-poses, server crashes,
Hey, bye, bitch. Told you.
and muscle man. Animations are also off. There's a ton of exploits, and so much more.
I don't remember that one.
What the f is going on?
The year is also 2018, and Bethesda's newest AAA game is capped at 60 frames per second, even on PC. Naturally, players are quite annoyed.
I mean,
so
to be
they dig
fair,
into
I
the
always
game
count my
files
games at 60
and
as
start
well.
tinkering. And in a mere few minutes, they figure out a simple fix. However, turns out the cap's there for a reason, because turn it off, and time and space itself speeds up and destabilizes. This is because the game world's physics are actually tied to the frame rate of the game. Head over 100, and your character becomes the Flash. This bug has been in Bethesda's engine code dating back to Morrowind, and it's one of the many bugs modders have repeatedly fixed on their own, almost instantly after release, only for every following game to reintroduce it. There's also still no FOV slider,
Can't keep getting away with it!
so PC players dig into the game files again and do it themselves. But turns out, the UI is tied to the field of view here. Change this, and the UI elements are just gone. Push to talk?
In their defense, I would imagine that the Bethesda devs were like, well, I doubt people are going to go into the files and change stuff around. So they just kind of tied stuff to other things. I understand that. It's not an excuse, but I'm just saying, like, okay.
Sorry, not this time. Proximity chat is either permanently off or always on. The latter by default. Meaning you'll be hearing the cries of children and screams of mothers in the distance fairly often. There's also no text chat.
He should have used the
and on
Hocus Pocus
PC,
pizza on
you
your
can barely
focus.
remap the
But that's good
horrific
as well.
controls. The game itself, also quite lacking. As was now well established, bug fixes and patches for Bethesda games had been outsourced to modders for free. But for Fallout 76, Todd decided to outsource the actual content too.
My personal favorite part of Fallout 76 is when they create their own fun.
See, Bethesda had so much of their team working
Not
on
Minecraft,
the
bro.
details.
Come on.
16 times the 16 times the
That developing actual things to do in interactable NPCs simply not possible. And the game features absolutely no human characters. Only other players. But it's alright. Other players will take the place of NPCs, Todd reassures us. With no NPCs in the game, naturally, the quests are terrible. The main quest line basically boils down to following the trail of someone's vlogs across the map.
Yeah.
Okay, at least there's the side quests. Stuff like...
The loot is good. Because usually you join the Enclave. Like, the power armor is really solid. But that was it, really.
Find Steve. Oh, Steve's dead. Thank God he left this TikTok behind for us to watch.
The war is over.
You are out of uniform, soldier! Where is your power armor? That suit is gonna come out of your pay! Now get out of my face and don't come back until you look like a soldier!
Fantastic. The game features PvP, but the PvP is horrific. Instead of simply adding PvP and PvE servers, Todd attempts to toe a tight middle ground, and makes it so two players have to shoot each other before either can do any actual damage.
I actually like
Shoot
this
someone
feature.
that hasn't shot you back yet, and you may as well be shooting blanks. And the graphics, still not great.
Beautiful, stunning, 2018. Ah, magnifique.
It's not all bad. There are some cool things here, like dropping nukes, but drop more than one at a time and the servers will implode.
You'll never even see a server when you play.
The launch codes are also the same for every server and change once a week. Just spent countless hours getting all 8 pieces. You could have just googled them.
Yeah, I never ever actually got all pieces in all of my time playing the game. I just looked it up. I think at most I got 6 pieces at once.
The building is alright, but the build limit is extremely restricted, and all you can really do is build crafting stations, a bed, and storage.
Please don't tell anyone how I live.
Storage that is, again, extremely restricted. They end up raising it by 50% after a huge number of complaints, but they say they can't do any more due to server performance issues. So the game itself, not smooth. But the one thing that does work perfectly on launch is the new in-game shop, the Atomic Shop. Come in and browse such luxuries as a set of power armor with some paint slapped on for just $20. Deal.
Are you f***ing serious?
Do you like $7 digital fridges? Do you like the outfits you got for free in our last game? Great, come in and spend some money. Naturally, at first, there are pay-to-win concerns around this store. But Todd comes out. It's alright. You can earn the currency in-game, the purchases would fund the upcoming free expansions for the game, and most assuring of all, the Atomic Shop is and would stay...
Not what, like 500 atoms a week I think it was? You would average? Yeah.
Cosmetic only. So that PvP would stay
well, it was
completely
cosmetic only
balanced
for a
and fair.
while.
We're definitely not asset flipping Fallout 4 and selling it back to you for dozens of dollars, and there are absolutely no fake discounts and law-breaking price schemes. Nice. Time to get spending. Naturally, the game doesn't make it a few days before discounts appear. The game starts at $60. Within just 1 week, a third of that is nixed. 50% sales not long after that. Alongside the discounts, hordes of fans had been
Oh my god,
requesting
someone's at my
refunds.
door. It's gonna be trick-or-treaters. Hold on. I don't know if that was cute or adorable. There was like a 7-year-old girl. Actually, no, she was not 7. She was like 4, dressed as the princess. And then there was just like a 30-year-old Slavic man who was dressed as an elephant. I was just like, oh, okay. And they rang the doorbell like 50 times. I was coming down the stairs and they just kept spamming it. I'm like, alright, bro, calm down. I do want to get rid of the candy though, so I gave them both like 8 packs of fucking Sour Patch Kids watermelon. Because I'm eating the Skittles, they can fuck off. Those are mine. So that was interesting. I'm gonna open the Skittles and lay them out so I'm not making noise. I love Skittles.
Initially, Bethesda had given in, but now, no more. Some people had even promised them, only to have Bethesda backtrack the next day. See, if this was on Steam, they'd have to give the green light for these. But here's the thing. It's on that old launcher of theirs. Check and mate. But then come murmurs of a class action lawsuit, and they backtrack immediately. So the game is absolutely horrendous, and naturally, the sales are too. Also, no game awards, not even a nomination, and a whopping 2.
I saw people using their disc as a coaster. Well, actually, it wasn't even a disc, because they gave you a cardboard disc with a code on it, if I remember correctly.
Metacritic. Right, boys. Should probably do something here. They can't rely on modders to fix the game this time round, so Bethesda gets to work on actual patches, and after a few months, Fallout 76 slowly morphs into something resembling a playable game. Also, the boys in Bethesda's R&D department had been working round the clock. And by the end of 2018, was that an FOV slider? Widescreen?
Oh my
Even
god.
push to talk? What was
the bare minimum?
Despite the progress, there are some bugs they just can't quite crack. Also, a teleportation exploit using cameras, hackers finding a way to spawn in weapons, armor, and other objects into the game, even NPCs and stuff from other games.
Bethesda just does not have the infrastructure in place that allows them to deal with situations like this efficiently.
These hackers are also running around stealing people's entire inventory. They don't even have to see you to do this, as long as they're within the general radius of the player.
Why are you running?
And because the Pip-Boy is technically an item in your inventory, say goodbye to that too. Luckily, thanks to another glitch, the game checks if you have a Pip-Boy every time you log onto a server. So join a new server, and you'll be alright. It takes Bethesda
what about the rest of my
around a week
inventory
to address this. And when they do fix it, hundreds of people have lost everything. Victims are given 2 options. Roll back their progress to before the muggings, or meet up with someone from Bethesda in a private world who will hand all your stuff back to you. But despite the improvements in the game, problems are surfacing outside of it. As part of the Collector's Edition, they'd promised a canvas
cancer helmet,
quite clearly labelled here. But on launch day, horror for collectors as they unboxed their editions, and it was nowhere to be found. Instead, a cheap nylon bag in its place. After suggesting a canvas shortage and then denying replacements, they backtrack again and hand out a form for people to fill out a replacement.
$5 worth of
this
items,
goes through
baby.
very smoothly, with no issues. However, this is not the only underwhelming merchandise. September 2019. It's been around a year since release, and after countless bug fixes, Fallout 76 is in okay shape, and now the game and its mishaps are largely forgotten. But the Collector's Edition wasn't finished. It would spring up one more time in the media. This time it was the helmets. They were accumulating dangerous levels of mold. If you were the lucky owner of one of the collectible Nuka-Cola versions, turns out the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission considers them a severe health risk for anyone with one in the household. They're recalled and refunded. Bethesda's reputation was
had
already
asbestos in it, didn't they?
For the events of 76. But Fallout 76 was a major tipping point. Gamers were angry. They were rising up. So angry, these gamers made numerous angry YouTube videos and forum posts, most of which attained a ton of upvotes from other angry gamers. Things were getting serious. Bethesda thought it best not to respond to the horror that was the launch of this game, and return to the shadows, and Todd and the boys lay low, go off the grid. Before launch, you could often find Pete Hines, Vice President of Bethesda Softworks and Head of Marketing and PR on Twitter, answering curious fans' questions about the game. Afterwards,
terrible idea.
Nothing. Complete radio silence. But after a while, the game is improving. The roadmap that initially launched for the game is taking shape.
Yep.
And the expansions
actually a good game now.
Decent. That even added actual
NPCs. Yeah.
Wow. Todd had even apologized.
Fallout 76 had a lot of difficulties at launch, and we got a lot of well-deserved criticism.
To the optimistic, it looked like things at Bethesda had in fact begun to change. Their trail of greed, incompetence, and outright refusal to listen to what their fanbase wanted was just a brief nightmare, a small bump in the road. Finished. Unfortunately, Todd had other plans. They'd said Fallout 76 would never be pay to win. Microtransactions would be cosmetic only.
It was the
So when
Silver
they
Shroud,
released
right? It was
repair
the
kits
first.
to the Atomic Shop in early 2019,
Right.
fans
Forgot
are
about
confused.
those.
Todd had lied, but he wasn't finished. In 2020, the promised private servers arrive, and they're paywalled behind Fallout 76's new subscription service. Fallout First. Private servers, unlimited storage for scrap, monthly atoms, exclusive cosmetics, and a tent. All for just $13 a month.
I actually argue that outside of the unlimited storage, the tent is actually the best part of it.
More expensive than
The
Netflix
tent is
at the time.
really handy.
Oh god. Fallout 76 is trending on Twitter again. A ton of angry forum posts are cropping up. People are not happy. Also, they forgot to reserve the actual Fallout First domain name, and someone on 4chan managed to get there first.
The sex tent.
Of course, this service was not without issues. The private servers turned out to use recycled multiplayer worlds that had evidence of recent activity from other players, such as dead enemies, looted areas, and so on. The infinite stash was gobbling up people's scrap, which they could no longer find. Yeah. Once again, things were not smooth. It's now 2020, and up at corporate movement. See, back in 2007, a private equity firm called Providence had bought around 300 million ZeniMax shares, and then some more in 2010. They're presumed to hold around 30 to 40% of the stock. What followed was a shopping spree. ZeniMax uses this money to buy Tango Gameworks, id, and Arcane, and rumour is
Tango is a mobile games one, isn't it?
by 2016, their little investment has paid off quite nicely, and Providence is looking to lock in some profits and sell. However, at this point, ZeniMax are only valued at $2.5 billion. That was embarrassing. We can do better, boys. And so, a plan is hatched. Instead of sticking to huge, intermittent, high-quality releases every few years, let's consider the quarterly cash flows. How about a few mobile games, price tags on mods, egregiously priced cosmetics, and then the masterpiece that was Fallout 76.
Oh my god.
There. Now, on paper, the company looks great. Just forget about everything else.
Lots of companies look good on paper, I'm going to be honest.
And the plan works perfectly. Microsoft's Phil Spencer marches straight into their office, and on September
Phil
21st,
Spencer is like a man I can trust.
2020, they announced the acquisition of ZeniMax Media for $7.5 billion. And on the 9th of March 2021, the deal goes through. Xbox now has 23 game studios, and the prime cut of the meat, Todd Howard and the boys. Morrowind was a generational leap, effectively laying the foundation for the modern open world game and setting the blueprint for all following Bethesda titles. Todd was the visionary behind it, but with little competition, a horrific engine, and a complete dismissal of fan feedback. Innovation turned
Yeah, they really need to get rid of that fucking engine, man. It has been running on duct tape and dreams since the day it came out.
Safe, stagnant, and outdated and repetitive releases. And by 2021, it was clear. The Bethesda we once knew was no longer.
Starfield.
It's him.
It's
How
Todd.
did he find you? Todd leans in gently, hair combed to perfection, his frosty eyes glistening. A faint aroma of jasmine and manuka honey radiates from him. You stand strong and firm. You've fallen for this before. There's nothing he could say to fall. But then you feel his touch. The hairs on your neck shoot up as he leans in.
I would
the
not let
manuka
Todd
now hot in
or
your
touch me, but okay.
And he whispers in your ear once more.
Painstakingly huge, 4 times the size. You'll need a free hand.
Todd's next game was coming out next year, and you'd just pre-ordered it.
It's a shame the game was so shit. I tried Star Wars. I thought it was the most boring fucking thing I've ever played in my life. It is just, it's a whole lot of nothing. You know what I mean?